Hello everyone, my name is Amanda Ostrander. I am a teacher-turned-homeschool mom. This is Raising A to Z, a YouTube channel all about homeschooling. And today I'm going to be giving my honest review on Gather Round. As you guys all know, if you've been following me for any amount of time, I am a big fan of unit studies. I just think they're one of the best ways to get your kids super excited, get them involved, teach them a whole bunch of different topics at the same time. I think unit studies are fantastic. Right now, one of the biggest names in unit studies, especially in North America, is Rebecca with Gather Round. And so I have been wanting to try it. I've been doing different research because it seems like such a great idea. And so I've researched it and I came up with some interesting things. A lot of people either love it or they hate it. And I'm always intrigued when it's so divisive. And so I really wanted to try it out for myself. And so for this month, January, I decided I wanted to do a unit on artists because it would be something that would be very historical. But we could also do a lot of art and a lot of painting and stuff, which would be a great unit for us in January when it's cold, sparked back into learning after a long Christmas break. So I purchased the Gather Round Artist unit. I purchased 2 levels with my own money. This is not sponsored. This is my honest opinion on the curriculum. And so I purchased 2 levels, one for Lexi, one for Zoe. And I'm not going to tell you what I think about it because I have some thoughts. First off, what is Gather Round? I think that's always great. It is basically a unit study type of curriculum program where you can purchase either individual units or you can purchase a full year. You can either purchase past years or the current year where every month, essentially, there is a new release. Each book contains language, science, social studies, geography, Bible study, art, home ec. It contains a variety of subjects, everything connected back to your topic at hand. And the thing about Gather Round is that there are different age levels. So you can basically do it with your entire family, whether you have a kindergartner and a 2nd grader, an 8th grader, and someone in high school. You could do it with everybody. Hence the name Gather Round. Everyone can just sit down and work together on the same topic. And it's leveled in such a way. Essentially, from my experience, there is a teacher manual which mom or parent would read from, and you read the sections that go with the different worksheets, and the kids do the work basically through their workbooks. That is what it is. They have a whole bunch of options. Like I said, you can either purchase the individuals units, which is what I did. I purchased 1 unit to try it out, or you can purchase a whole year. So if you're looking, I think she's on year 4 now, year 3 or year 4. Anyway, if you purchase past years, you can get all of them. If you're purchasing the current year, you just get the units sent to you when they're released. Like I said, there are some pros and there are definitely some cons to this curriculum, and it's going to work for some people and it's going to not work for others, just like any curriculum. I'm going to say that up front. But yeah, let's get into it. This is Christian curriculum. I'm going to state that very clearly because I see it posted and suggested to parents on Facebook groups constantly when a parent is asking for a unit study suggestion or somewhere to find unit studies, and they're asking specifically for secular curriculum. And people suggest Gather Round all the time and just say you can cut the Bible stuff out. I disagree heavily. I don't think you should have to cut things out of your curriculum because you've paid for it. This curriculum, it is very much wrapped around Bible studies. And that's okay if that's what you're looking for. But it's not like, if I were to cut that out, it would be cutting out almost, I'd say 15 to 20% of the work out of the book. I'm not going to pay for something when I have to cut out so much. It's not like it's 1 line every day or something. It's wound through the whole thing. And I think as Christians, we should not be suggesting Christian curriculum for people who are specifically looking for secular curriculum. Just like I would be I know so many people who'd be really upset if they were being suggested the curriculum that was Muslim and they were asking for specific Christian curriculum. That would upset you because that's clearly not your worldview. Why are you suggesting this as an option? Anyway, that's my pet peeve, but I want to make that very clear. Gather Round is Christian curriculum. If that is not something that you're interested in, go find something else, because it is not just something where you can like take out a little bit, because there are some curriculums where you can just like take it out. This is very heavily intertwined. So first off, it is heavily intertwined. It is Christian curriculum. Secondly, now getting into it, I love the idea of Gather Round. I do like the idea. It's very much speaks to like my heart as a homeschooler, my heart as like a teacher. I would love to be able to sit down and do a unit with my kids, regardless of their age level, have my whole family sit down and work on the same thing. It is such a great idea. I love that the curriculum is really, really pretty. Like it's really pretty curriculum, which I think appeals to a lot of people. Like they want to have curriculum that is pretty to look at and engaging and gets the kids looking at it because it just looks so cool. I think the idea is great. I think the books are beautiful. And I wish I had more positives to say. When it comes to some of the cons, I'm going to be very straight with you guys. I did not particularly like Gather Round, and I probably will not purchase it in the future for a couple of reasons, and I'm going to lay them out because I think people need to know why, because if it works for you, it works for you. But you need to know why it might not work for you. So when it comes to the topics at hand, for example, the arts topic, the artists, it is both too much and not enough. And this has been a common complaint across a lot of Facebook groups as well. And I didn't understand what that meant until I actually like read through a whole unit. It's just covering too much and not doing enough on anything. So for example, this is the artist unit, and instead of just like doing visual artists or, you know, just covering art history and like looking at different styles or anything, she decided she was going to cover visual artists, performing artists, culinary artists, doodlers, like basically every creative person out there in one unit, and do it in the span of a month. There's so many topics to cover in the span of this month that it's almost exhausting. And yet there's not enough on anything in particular. And if that's your thing, if you like going down the rabbit holes and like having your kids lead you where they want to go and they're like, hey, I'm really interested in this, let's take off, then maybe this is great for you. But as a person who was just like, I like, if I'm going to buy a curriculum, I like having it be fairly like structured and have it have a fairly good sense of where we start and where we end. And this just felt like there was so much to cover. And yet I was going to have to supplement because there wasn't enough on anything. And I knew my kids are going to have a million questions because there's just so much room for questioning in each topic. The other thing I could see is I was kind of shocked by how much was expected to be done every day. And I do understand it covers all your subjects minus math. I understand that, but it just seemed like a lot of working out of a workbook. It seemed like so much. And then the thought that I was going to have to also supplement this because I know my kids are going to ask more questions because there's just so much room for questions, felt overwhelming for me as the parent. I also don't understand how you would cover all of this in 20 days, which is how the units are laid out, which is a full month, Monday through Friday, 4 weeks in a month, right? Now I do know some people who have used Gather Round and they only get a couple units and they space them out over the span of like 6, 8, even 12 weeks. And I could see that would be a great option if this is something you love. That might be a great option because it would give you that space to do those little rabbit trails, follow those questions, dive deeper into this person or this art form, this artist. That would be a great option. But in terms of like actually doing it in 20 days, I would have a very hard time finishing this unit in a month. Yeah. That's what I felt. So I understood the too much and not enough. There's too much to do, too many topics covered, and just not enough on anything. And I wish there was more on every topic. You're going to have to supplement. So right off the bat, Rebecca does say that there is no math in this curriculum, except for sometimes there is, which is kind of random, but okay. There's no math. And so you do have to have a separate math curriculum if you're going to use Gather Round. So you already have to supplement math, which is fine. I understand math is like a whole different ball game. It's not something you can easily put into unit studies necessarily. I get it. I understand the separating math out. I understand. I personally feel like you would have to supplement language arts too. As a fan of structured literacy, which I have a whole video on structured versus balanced literacy. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, put it up here. But as a fan of structured literacy, I believe that grammar and phonics need to be instructed, as well as writing, and we need some instruction in those things. And I just did not feel like there was enough language arts at all in the unit. I was going to have to supplement just to make sure that my kids were getting enough phonics, enough grammar, enough writing opportunity. Like it was going to have to be supplemented. And considering how much they already have to do to complete each day's worth of work, to have to then add language arts on top of that, grammar and phonics, and math, which obviously I knew math, but it just felt like it wasn't enough language for the amount of work that we were doing. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to have to supplement language because I just don't think there's enough. And then, like I said, I'm already knowing that I'm going to have to supplement because of the rabbit trails that we're going to go down. So I feel like there's going to be a lot of supplementing that's going to have to be done. And when you're advertising something as a all-in-one curriculum where you can just open and go, the amount of supplementing that I'm going to have to do kind of defeats the purpose. The other thing that I have a hard time with Gather Round is the price point. It is not cheap. And I understand it's a small business. I understand that. But I bought 2 levels and it cost me just under $50. I think it was like $48.95 or something like that, Canadian. And I had a 15% off discount. So to make it easy, it was about $50. Just round up that extra $1.05. It was a lot of curriculum for 1 month. And I do understand that there are discounts. So if you are buying for 3 kids, there is a family rate that you can purchase, which is less than having to buy 3 individual units. And the family rate covers the full selection. So you could buy 5 units and it's all the same price. There's also a discount if you're purchasing for the whole year, like a whole year package. I understand that. However, it is still incredibly expensive by my standards and by what I can find. So for example, I also, because I was having such a hard time with how much was getting done and not enough of anything, I went to TPT, which is formerly called Teachers Pay Teachers, and I found a unit study on artists. And it was on 11 artists. I think it was 10 or 11 artists. It had a biography, some research pages, questions, and a page to do art in their style. So it was like a 4-page unit per artist. I found that on Teachers Pay Teachers, and the price was, let me double check. It was $7.35 US, which is less than $10 Canadian. Now I understand that you couldn't necessarily do this with every grade level, but the fact that I can find an artist unit study on Teachers Pay Teachers that is made by someone, and they are also a small business and getting paid out of that, for less than half the cost of 1 unit study book, that really hurts my heart to pay that much, especially with how kind of disappointed I am with the curriculum of it. And basically with the Teachers Pay Teachers, I could supplement a little bit of some YouTube videos and a couple books from my library, and I was good. I didn't feel like because it was a little bit more concentrated, it was much more manageable than having the Gather Round curriculum. That was my honest feel on it. Another comparison price point would be something like Harbor and Sprout, which someone recommended to me. Harbor and Sprout is also a unit studies. They don't do as many unit studies. They have I think they have 18 out, but for the price, which is very comparable to Gather Round, I think it runs at about $30. You get language, lots of writing. Those are 2 separate things. Nature studies, science, math, social studies. And it is like 4 weeks worth of work in each subject, as well as hands-on activities, flashcards, nature studies was included as well, all related to your topic. Just on that face alone, there was a lot more in Harbor and Sprouts than there was in Gather Round. information wise, and it was much more organized, Harbor and Sprout, than Gather Round. That was another thing I kind of got frustrated with, was Gather Round, you very much have to buy it to see what's in it. Like, it was just like, oh, we're going to cover this and this and this in the blurb. And you're like, oh, okay. Like, I thought maybe there'd be like a little topic about this and topic about that, because a doodler is very much under like a visual artist, but no, that's a totally different person. Like, it was just, I found it very confusing. I found it it jumps a lot. Whereas something like Harbor and Sprout, it is very much, when you go on their website, it says on week 1, we are covering this in language. We are covering this in week 2, this in week 3, and this in week 4. Boom. Then we're going to move on to writing. This is what we're covering in week 1. It's very laid out. You know exactly what you're purchasing when you purchase it. When you buy and Gather Round, there's a generic blurb for the whole year. And that's kind of what you're going off of. I do understand that Harbor and Sprout is basically aged for ages 3 to 12, whereas Gather Round is 3 to 18. But just the price point of what it is and how much work I have to put into it, in my opinion, it just seems very high cost. Like Harbor and Sprout, I don't have to do anything. Gather Round, I'm going to have to do a lot of supplementing and a lot of extra work in there. But that's not to say someone isn't going to love Gather Round. I know Rebecca definitely has kind of this cult of personality. There are people who absolutely love what she's doing, love what she's putting out. And if that is you, congratulations, you found a great match. I've always said curriculum is not going to work for everybody. There's not going to be one single curriculum where I'm like, this is what everyone needs to do, because everybody has different needs, wants, values, family styles, units. Like, it's just going to be different for everybody. So if you are using Gather Round and you love it, continue using it. This is not a discouragement. It's just maybe things to think about. If you don't love Gather Round, congratulations, move on to something else. I suggest Harbor and Sprouts, or definitely check out Teacher Pay Teachers, TPT. If you are still curious about Gather Round and you're like, would I be one of those people who like it? Here are the people who are going to like Gather Round. If you have more than 3 kids that you're trying at 3 different grade levels, Gather Round might be for you. If you have kids who have a large age gap, Gather Round might be for you. My kids are only 2 years apart, so I can easily take one unit study off of Teachers Pay Teachers and differentiate it down for them. I can understand how that'd be much more difficult if you had, say, a 1st grader and 8th grader. Trying to find one unit that's going to work for both of them, I guess this would be a great option for you. Definitely have to be a Christian family, because there is a lot of Christian content, and that's fine. It's just not for secular families. And I definitely think this is going to really play to people who are comfortable spreading it out, because I think you're going to need to do that, and are very happy to go on rabbit trails. Like, very happy to like constantly be looking for different information. I like having everything in one spot, so it's just not a thing that I'm loving. So personally, in the end, I probably won't be getting any more Gather Round. I was very disappointed, and I definitely understood that people love it or hate it thing by the end of having Gather Round. I think Rebecca has a great idea. I think it needs to be focused down a lot. I think her topics tend to be too broad, and they could be definitely brought in a lot more specific. And I think she'd do much better with the jumpiness of the program, with the kind of like the too much and not enough, if the topics were brought in a little bit, actually significantly. And I think sometimes she's just bitten off more than she can chew in terms of like output. I know that there's been some complaints about units being late when people are buying the full year, or units not coming out, and like her promising a unit and it not making it out that year. I think she's just bitten off more than she can chew. And I think sometimes that comes out actually in the writing, that sometimes I think she needs a better editor as well, because I have seen some sentences where I'm like, that is not a great grammatical sentence and it doesn't make sense. And that has also been a complaint. But anyway, I think it's a great idea. I think it needs a little bit more focus, and I think she's just bitten off more than she can chew, honestly, because the books are beautiful. Like, the books are beautiful. I think if it was less topics and a much more focus, you would have a significantly higher success rate with them. And that's my personal opinion. This is my opinion on Gather Round. I hope you guys like this video. Let me know if there's any other curriculums you'd like me to check out or review. I'm always interested. I'm happy to review some curriculum. I have a couple of curriculum options coming up I'm going to review. So if there's anything you want me to talk about, comment down below. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see what kind of curriculum I'm using, how I do my unit studies, where I find my unit studies, you'll definitely want to make sure you're following me on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. And I'll show you all those things on a regular basis. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.